Hey guys, welcome back to Home Theater Guru. So today we've got another projector in. This is the Benq W4100i Home Theater projector. Comes in at a price of $3,000, and we actually get a lot for that price range. You know, projectors are not cheap, but when you look at what we're getting, we've got vertical lens shift, horizontal lens shift. It also has 3200 lumens, so this is a high output projector, which we're kind of seeing a trend lately with a lot of high lumens. And really, I'm kind of starting to jump ship, not really from completely where blacks aren't as important. They are very important, but when you're trying to compete with you know, TV displays and stuff that have 1,000 nits, or some of the more expensive Epson projectors where we can hit 300 something nits on a projector screen, it's really a great thing to see these budget or more budget friendly projectors that are also putting out some serious light output. This projector has HDR Pro Global Contrast Enhancer. It enhances contrast and dark detail and also the bright areas as well. It's supposed to improve the detail across the board. It also has Local Contrast Enhancer, which refines contrast in over 1,000 independent regions per frame. We also have Dynamic Black, which is enhanced tone mapping that increases contrast to preserve detail in dark areas. We also have out-of-the-box color accuracy of 100% DCI P3 and 100% 709. People pay a lot of money to have their projectors calibrated, their displays calibrated. This projector, Projector Central did a review. Now, of course, they claim that it is shipped calibrated, and so they tested it and found it to be, on the filmmaker mode, it was below a delta of 3 across the board. Now, 3 is important because anything above that, the colors will look off to people that are really paying attention and know what it should look like. So it was in, basically, it was good enough for calibrated specs. Not as tight as they got it once it was actually professionally calibrated, because the screen that you're using matters as well. But for a projector to be that close, where to the average person, it is calibrated, you know, that they can't tell if even if it was a little bit better, you wouldn't be able to tell because it's that close to actually being perfect. Now, for you gamers out there, this thing has a really good refresh rate of 17.9 milliseconds at 4K 60 Hertz. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the inputs, outputs, and all the controls. You see on the top right here, we've got our lens shift for horizontal and vertical. So we've got manual focus and zoom, and we've got manual lens shift. On the back, which is pretty standard for projector, we've got 12-volt trigger input, so we can turn it on and off with our receiver, so you don't have to use your remote. RS-232 connection. We've got a service port, media reader, which is just a USB, audio out, and we've got 3 HDMI inputs and audio return, so that should be ARC. And looks like HDMI 3 is a 4K 120 Hertz input, so I'm guessing that if you're using it for gaming or something like that and you want that 120 4K, you're going to use that port. And then we've got another USB. All right, and on the bottom of it, we've got our threaded insert, so we can mount this thing to a plate, you know, to ceiling mount it. And then we've also got our tabletop adjuster, so if you can just put it on a coffee table or whatever and adjust the feet. But again, this has vertical lens shift, so we're not gonna wanna use Keystone where we're trying to aim it, you know, at the screen and try to fix a trapezoid. We're gonna want to aim it so that we have parallel lines. No trapezoid, because we have to fix that with Keystone, which is not optimal. With this thing, we're going to square up the sides or parallel them, and then we're going to walk it onto the screen using vertical lens shift. And that's going to give us the clearest picture that we can, because we're not electronically distorting the image. And so we're going to get, theoretically, well, not really theoretically, you're going to get a better picture that way. All right, so in the box, we also got Android TV, so I assume that's going to plug into our USB port. And we have a little remote right here. I think it said this was backlit. Let me put the batteries in there and just confirm. All right, the remote is backlit. Let me bring it over there to the camera and let you guys check it out. Everything lights up except for the power button and, of course, the center four-way deal with like the OK in the center. And we've also got a power cord and a 6-foot HDMI cable. All right, so enough of that. I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing set up behind the theater seats over here so we can project it on this 140-inch screen, and I'm gonna spend a few days with it and get back with you. All right guys, so it's been a few weeks. I've been trying this projector out, the 4100, and now we're going to go ahead and talk about the performance and look at some side-by-side shots against my JVC NZ8. Now we're not expecting it to really compete with the NZ8, you know, on all levels, or, you know, the price is vastly different. You're talking about a $16,000, $17,000 projector compared to a $3,000 projector. Now the projector's HDR tone mapping and all that stuff is really good. The processing on these projectors over the years, you know, the budget projectors have gotten so darn good with their processing. So it does a fantastic job with HDR, with color. The colors look great. I did try it on many different settings, which we're going to go over here in a few minutes. I think some of the strong points with this projector are the brightness on, well, the filmmaker mode is not very bright. We're going to look at that. But the other modes are bright and enjoyable to watch. And I actually like the AI cinema mode, which is actually one of really my favorite mode, because it does clean up, you know, the picture. Even whenever I'm using like my Kaleidoscope, which has, you know, arguably the best picture you can get on a player. All right, and before we get into the side-by-side pictures, one other thing, I did want to mention fan noise. This does have a little bit of fan noise. It's kind of a low hum. As you can see, it's right here behind my head, so I'm pretty close to it. That's a little close. I would much rather be a little bit further away. I'd say 4 to 5 feet, you should be fine. So we've got the 4100 on the left, and on the right, you see the JVC. JVC, of course, has a very bright picture. The Benq, of course, on the left. Now you'll notice the picture is a lot darker, but that is because we're in filmmaker mode. This is the calibrated mode, so it's, you know, it's a much darker picture. So for me personally, it's a little bit too dim for this size screen. I would want something with a little more pop. So I didn't really watch filmmaker mode a lot. Okay, now here we have HDR10. And you'll notice in HDR10 that the picture is much, much brighter. I mean, this is, you know, pretty comparable actually to the JVC. But also pay attention to the detail in his pants legs, or his legs down on, or his knees down on the ground. You can see there's like that weave pattern or whatever to his pants. You can look at the detail there on his other knee. Now the AI Cinema, HDR AI Cinema, is a tad bit dimmer than HDR10, but not a whole lot. But I actually like this one a little bit better because it does a little bit better job of cleaning up the image even further above what HDR10 has in it as far as processing or optimizing the picture. All right, now this is where the Benq 4100 really struggles. As you can see, like the photo with the JVC, we can see a lot of detail, a lot of depth in this picture here. But with the Benq 4100, every time there was dark scenes like this, I lost a lot of detail. It was kind of washed out looking. It did not handle dark levels very well. It doesn't really have inky blacks, of course, and we don't expect it to at this price point. It's more of a dark gray, not really, you know, if the JVC, which is not pure black, but if it's black, you know, it's dark gray at best for the Benq. It's several shades lighter. I mean, it's not even really anything you would consider black. Now, of course, with bright scenes, you know, you don't notice that. I really just noticed it whenever you know, scenes like this where I just had an overall dark scene. All right, guys, so the Benq 4100i, my recommendation is if you are not, if you don't have to have really good blacks, you know, if you're at black level, if you're okay with it not being, you know, really black, a little bit of a gray, kind of washes out in dark scenes, it's a great projector. Other than that, has a really, really good picture with, you know, bright scenes, any nature scenes, like ocean scenes, stuff like that. It does a fantastic job. But for $3,000, I mean, with the lens shift and the capabilities of the projector, other than that it does extremely well at, it is a good projector. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this one. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when the next videos come out, and I'll see y'all for the next one.